How y'all doing? My name Deon Williams. I'm originally from Dallas, Texas. Uh, in 1993, I was raised in a family of five. I was the baby in the family. I had three other brothers and one older sister. Uh, I was raised up in a family that was less fortunate than others, which contributed to me committing crimes. One of the things that I talk to a lot of people about is, as kids growing up in the neighborhood that I grew up in, when you have kids that, don't have the name brand clothes, the name brand shoes, kids have the tendency of being so mean toward other kids, and that was me. So I had made the choice to start committing crimes just to keep people from talking about me from when I go to school. So at the age of 12 years old, uh, I committed my first crime. I bust out a car window. I went to juvenile overnight, got out. That wasn't enough. At the age of 13, I committed another crime. I stole a car and broke in the building. Went to juvenile for 5 days. That still wasn't enough. 1996, 1991 at the age of 14, I decided to go with some guys to go rob a building, rob a store. Went to TYC for 1 year. That was a camping trip for me. It still wasn't enough. 1993, at the age of 16 years old, I made the choice to go hang with some guys that alter my life forever. I was 16 years old and sentenced to life. Although I didn't pull the trigger to take the life, they still sentenced me to life. That's the way the system works in Texas under the law parties. Whether you actually commit the crime or not, you just as guilty as the person that committed the crime. On that life sentence, I served 31 calendar years. I just came home in January. I lost so much during my incarceration. I lost my mother, I lost my grandmother, lost everybody in my family. It was hard. I was angry. I always knew the Lord, but I didn't care about the Lord. I was mad at him because I was like, God, you know what actually transpired in this crime. Why did you give me a life sentence? If I would have been 17, they would have gave me the death penalty. Two people that was on my crime received the death penalty. They wanted to give it to me so bad, but because of my age and because of the law, they couldn't give it to me, even though they know I didn't kill anybody. But they still wanted to be so harsh towards me and give me the death penalty, but they couldn't. So they gave me the next best thing they could give me. I served my time, and like I say, I was an angry person in prison, man. 17 years old and one of the hardest units in the state of Texas, the Clemens unit. I did my first 17 years on the Clemens unit. I did my last 11 on Cofield. And it seemed like they wanted to send me to all the bad places, where when you walk through the door, you got to sit your mat down and strap up. He was on Ferguson. Brandon can tell you how it was. No, it wasn't no easy road for me. So about 8 years ago, I was in the chapel. I done all kind of crazy stuff in prison, man. I was involved in the gangs. I was in the riots. Had to stab people. Done got stabbed. Got my teeth kicked out of my mouth and everything. I was in the chapel one day. A friend of mine invited me, and he said, "Hey, man, let's go to church." And I said, "Man, I'm not going to no church." He said, "Man, it's a church that's supposed to be down there. They might have some women down there." So me being a man, I said, "I'm gonna go down to the church house and see what kind of women coming through." And man, I went up in the church house, and as I was leaving, I seen a pamphlet on the floor. And I picked that pamphlet up and it had a thing on there about the Good Shepherd program. And I said, man, what is this? And it was Tracy. And they was talking about, uh, letters and stuff about inspiring other people. I still got one of the first letters before the newsletters that Tracy wrote me. And I wrote and I shared my testimony with Tracy. And the title of the paper that I had, it was, Am I a common criminal or am I a victim of circumstances? And that's the question that I used to ask myself throughout my incarceration. Am I a common criminal or am I just a victim of circumstances? And I felt that I was a victim of circumstances. I was a victim of the upbringing that I had. But because of me being a victim of circumstances, it didn't mean that I had to continue to live that lifestyle. So when Tracy used to send the words of encouragement, man, the inspiration into the prisons, it was at a point in my life to where I was getting ready to come up for parole because I had to do 30 calendar years before I thought about parole. And my mentality was, if I got to do 30 years before I even think about parole, my parole officer not even born yet. Why should I do right? And I was like, at one point, no, you got to make the choice, man. You made the choice that got you in prison. Won't you start making choices that can get you out? Make choices that can contribute to keeping you out. So the letters that I was getting for Tracy, man, it inspired me in ways that made me feel that, hey, I got to do something better. I'm tired of doing it my way, man. And the letters that she sent me, man, made me rededicate my life to God because I knew I couldn't make it on my own. I wasn't going to make it out of that prison on my own accord. And I made God a promise. And I wrote Tracy one day and I said, Tracy, I've been counting years. I got 1 year to come up for parole. This will be my first parole. I said, my niece asked me the only thing she wants for Christmas is her uncle to come home. And it broke me down. It broke me all the way down. And I said, God, if you give me this chance, let me walk out of these doors. I promise I'm going to do what you want me to do. I promise you I'm going to live my life according to the way that you want, not the way that I do. And when I was granted parole, I wrote Tracy and I told her, they gave me parole. And Tracy said, you don't forget the promise that you made God. And when you come out of that place, you're going to impact some people's lives. You're going to go out and you're going to talk to the youth because that's what you've been telling me that you want to do. Don't turn your back on God. And I said, I'm not. And right to this day, I've only been home 9 months. Every opportunity that I get, I go to the youth. I got to go to Dallas tomorrow to speak at a youth event. And I go out and I talk to the young people. And I try to deter them from the path of making the decision that I made because I don't want them to go down that road. Be wise and learn from the mistake of others. Don't be a fool to learn from your own mistake. Everybody in here today that's been impacted by the prison system deserve that. Celebration of changed lives. Everybody that had problems with drugs. I never done drugs before, but I drunk alcohol. All of it is not good. And everybody that changed their lives deserve to be celebrated. We all deserve it. And Tracy, thank you for this opportunity. Thank all of you guys that came out and shared your testimony. And just know that's the only way. Jesus' way.
That's something to celebrate.